The November 17th, 2020 meeting of the Carlynton School District Board of Directors is called to order. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we had Chris. Last time we had Chris. Susie, as the new person, the new board director, would you like to lead us in the pledge? Excellent.
To the flag of the United States
of America, and to the republic
for which it
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Zaletsky,
Here.
Director Simsik, Director Puskar,
Here.
Director Mendoza,
I'm here.
Director O'Brien,
Here.
Director Apple,
Here.
Director Honchar,
Here.
Director Frank, Director Shriver.
Here. There's a moment at the beginning of our meeting where we invite the public to comment on any items on our agenda for this evening. So does anybody in the audience or online have any items on the agenda that they would like to ask a question about tonight?
And just a reminder, anybody who would like to speak to the board, you'll just have to use the raise hand function on your Zoom toolbar, and we will acknowledge that and let you speak. There are none.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Moving on then, under section 2, I'll entertain a motion to approve minutes of previous meetings. I'll entertain a motion to approve number 1, voting meeting for October 20th, 2020, and number 2, the minutes from the voting and finance meeting of November 10th, 2020. Do I have a motion for those 2 items?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay.
And I abstain. I wasn't here. This is Director Mendoza.
And for which meeting are you abstaining?
The very last meeting, the
November 10th.
yes.
Excellent. Thank you.
And I'll abstain for the October 20th.
And Director Puskar is abstaining for October 20th.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. With those 2 notes, the motion carries. Thank you. Under section 3, I'll report that we had an executive session prior to this meeting where we discussed negotiations, potential litigation, and personnel matters. I'll now turn to our superintendent for his report.
And thank you, Mr. Shriver. And Mr. Jones, just to check as far as the number of people who are joining us online, you have that information just so that there's no at home? Okay, so we have 17 joining us remotely, and then we also have 2 individuals here in the auditorium with us as well. For my superintendent's report this week, just wanted to cover where we are in regard to into the COVID issues and the impact that it has on instruction. So next slide, please. As far as our current model, if we can move to the next slide, please. There we go. As far as our current model that we are using to provide instruction for our students at this time, as you know, our K through 3 students are reporting 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Students in grades 4 through 12 are reporting twice a week on Tuesday, Thursday. We also have our K through 12 life skills and autistic support students who are reporting 4 days a week. Remote learning continues to be an option for any student who does not feel comfortable reporting to school, who is quarantined on any particular days, or students who are just simply not feeling well and are unable to report to school. Remote learning continues to be offered to our students. Anytime that face-to-face is not scheduled, so at the 4 through 12 level on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then also in the K through 3 area on Wednesdays, we are using our traditional method of remote instruction to deliver to our students. Our goal at bringing into this new phase of instruction was to increase number of student days as we could add on very easily onto the instructional week for our students. However, at this time, based on the local, county, and state COVID cases, as many of you have recognized have been on the increase, we do not have any immediate plans to increase the number of days of instruction. Next slide, please. Maintaining that safe environment certainly is something that is extremely important to us, and we have taken many precautions to make sure that our schoolhouse is safe for both students, staff, and our community as well. We reviewed throughout the process, beginning in August, the variety of mitigation efforts that we have to decrease the spread of COVID-19. Some of those things are as far as screening and reporting. All staff, students, and families, we have asked them to self-screen at home to make sure that any symptoms that are present in the households, that they get reported to our school nurses, and also that individuals remain at home if they're feeling ill. We've also been conducting temperature screenings prior to students coming in the door, and our school nurses have been very instrumental in reaching out and working with individual students and with families as well who are experiencing issues during this time. We've worked very hard to create physical distance among all of our students. In the classroom, we've created maximum space between our students in the classroom. We've created safe distances while we transfer between classes during those transitional times. We've limited the congregation of individuals into large group settings. The only time we get students together in large group settings is during lunchtime, or possibly some morning exercises where students report to the cafeteria. However, with our masking and barrier techniques that we put in place in the cafeterias, we have plexiglass that is created as a barrier between all students while they're eating, especially in an unmasked area. We also have masking regulations in place that all staff and all students are required to wear a mask while in school. Hygiene and cleaning, we have enforced with students to wash hands on a regular basis. We have hand sanitizer available throughout the building, and our buildings are cleaned regularly throughout the course of the week. And if there are any specific issues, we put higher intensity cleaning in place to make sure that we can mitigate the spread from that method. And then we also offer different options for our students. So students are always provided with the opportunity to remain at home during instructional activities when necessary. As far as the current data, just to provide some information with some updated numbers in regard to COVID cases in our school itself. Current data, we have no active cases in the district. That includes both students and staff members. We do have 14 students presently that are in quarantine, and we have 4 staff members who are in quarantine as well. Our historical data throughout the course of the past several weeks since we have opened our doors, we've had 6 students who have tested positive. We've had 3 staff members who have tested positive. A total of 10 staff members have been quarantined, and a total of 18 have been quarantined, and all of those have been due to exposure. And in the large realm of those things, the exposure is not occurring here in the schoolhouse. There's only 1 exposure in the schoolhouse. The rest of those exposures occurring with both students and staff members are occurring outside the school doors. So therefore, there's no evidence of community outbreak within the school or any other type of community spread within our buildings. I think that's compliments to really to all of our stakeholders who have taken the mitigation efforts that we've put in place very serious. It's a huge thank you to our staff, to our students, to our maintenance crew, to our custodians for maintaining a safe environment. Now, one of the things that we are recently going to add to our webpage, next slide please, will be a COVID-19 tracking website. And what you'll see from this information is there's a lot of good information that we will keep this updated both on a daily and on a weekly basis. On a daily basis, we will update any positive cases. So if we have a positive case, we will go into our software, we'll update the information that will immediately show within 15 minutes to our public how many active cases and how many resolved cases that we have in the district. So you can see on the left-hand side there, you have your active cases. It aligns with I just shared. No active across the district, and we've had 9 resolved. Underneath there shows that 6 of those resolved have been from students, and 3 of those resolved have been from staff. So just to clarify, as far as what constitutes a resolved case, that simply means that that individual is no longer has COVID symptoms. They did test positive. However, at least 10 days have elapsed, and they have been without symptoms for at least 72 hours prior to coming back into the schoolhouse. And then also on a weekly basis on Fridays, what we will do is we will update the number of staff and students who are quarantined. So that information there will not be a daily running number, but it will be more of a weekly number. And that number will indicate when it's posted that any individual that's quarantined at the time of posting and extending into the next week. So it should provide some pretty accurate information for our community. There are also breakdowns then on the right. You can see the breakdowns then by schools. You can see that the junior senior high school had 6 total cases. Carnegie had 2 and Crafton had 1. Once again, all of those are resolved cases. And then we also have a historical chart going back 30 days where you can see any types of trends that are emerging in the schoolhouse. So as I mentioned, the mitigation efforts that we put in place have been very effective. We've helped keep the COVID out of our building. And once again, much of that is due to parents reporting to us ahead of time, not only with their child, but then also with potential confirmed cases in the area that they're aware of. Next slide, please. So as far as confirmed case procedures, as far as the procedures that we follow, in the event that we have a confirmed case of a staff or student, that individual is either notifies us, we notify them, or we receive information from the Allegheny County Health Department. That individual then remains home for a period of 10 days, and they do not return to any of the district facilities until they are symptom-free for a period of 72 hours. And that's without any fever-reducing medication before they can come back into the building. We do conduct contact tracing in unison with Allegheny County Health Department. And as we do that, we share all data with the Allegheny County Health Department in regard to close contacts. Both of our school nurses have had training in contact tracing. So they are very well aware of the CDC regulations and then also our local regulations that would identify a close contact. We share that information then with the county. The county is the individual then who actually does the quarantine. From that point, we send out, just this week, we will begin sending out a survey for individuals who test positive. That information goes directly to Allegheny County Health Department, and that information is shared with them to help them with their contact tracing efforts. With the most recent numbers, 300, 400, 500 cases a day, they have added additional staff to Allegheny County to help work with individual schools to help us work through the process of identifying students and helping doing that contact tracing so that we can reach out to those who are exposed. So if a child is exposed, if we have a positive case in the school and we have a child that is exposed, we reach out directly to all of those parents. We would inform them the nature of the exposure and provide them with additional information on the steps that they need to take to keep themselves, their child, and their family safe. And as I mentioned, all of the quarantine data and then also the positive case data that will be continued to be updated on our webpage. So just some continued guidance in order for us to continue to be successful. One of the things I mentioned before is we would not have experienced the amount of success that we've had so far this school year without the continued efforts of our dedicated staff, our teachers, our support staff, our administrators, families, and students. That support staff includes our bus drivers, our cafeteria work, our custodians, our maintenance crew, a lot of individuals who help create a safe environment for our staff and for our students. We're extremely thankful for the serious nature of which they have approached their duties and their responsibilities to make it a safer place. To our families and to our students especially, for taking our mitigation efforts so serious. They have been wearing masks throughout the school day. They have been cleaning their desks after they use them. and have been doing an absolutely great job transitioning between classes in the hallway, both at the elementary and at the secondary level. As far as at home, what we ask is for families to continue to monitor symptoms. And if your child has any symptoms of COVID or is feeling ill in any way, we ask that they remain at home. We have seen this be extremely effective where individuals are staying at home. Our instructional model certainly supports that, where learning is still available to all of our students in a remote environment. Continue to maintain communication with our school nurses. If you have a positive test in your family or you hear of a positive case in your neighborhood that you think that could have an impact on the schoolhouse, please either send an email to either of our school nurses or pick up the phone and give us a call. Those are tips that we can respond to very quickly and continue to make sure that we're operating in a safe manner. The Department of Health today came out with a new announcement in regard to additional mitigation efforts across the state of Pennsylvania. I would say that many of the healthcare professionals are extremely concerned about the upcoming holiday season with Thanksgiving and the New Year coming up in regard to gatherings, both more moving from outdoors to indoor. And with that, they have put some new mitigation efforts in place to wear a mask wherever you go, whether you're outside, inside, if you're visiting with friends, to continue to wear a mask and to protect yourself. So we ask that our community be vigilant with the directives from the state to help keep our community safe, and continue to wash hands regularly, maintain safe distance from one another, and continuously wear a mask to help with the spread. Next slide, please. We've looked at our instructional model most recently, and we want to make sure that we put out reminders to both our families and to our parents as far as how to approach learning at home. As we've said from the very beginning, nothing replaces that face-to-face learning in the school between teacher and student. There are many benefits from face-to-face instruction, and it's for that reason that we are still committed to continuing to provide face-to-face instruction for our students for as long as we can, due to those benefits of the educational side. But when working from home, it's important that students maintain regular attendance, that whether they're scheduled to report to school or whether they are learning from home, to make sure that they're logging on, that they're accessing their instruction each day, and staying vigilant with keeping up with their coursework. Many students have experienced success through setting up a daily schedule, a daily routine, having a good work area that is set up so that students have access to their computer, they have access to supplies. If there are any parents or families, if you find yourself needing additional supplies, I ask that you reach out to your building principal or to your school counselor. Let them know that there are some supplies that would be very helpful. If it's pencils, if it's paper, if it's at the elementary level, if it's colored pencils or different types of tools that you need to be successful at home, please reach out to us and let us know. We will certainly put procedures in place to help you as we move through this time. We want to make sure that our kids have all the supplies necessary to be successful at home. And from the parent side, talk to your child about their schoolwork. Touch base with them, take an interest in what they're doing, ask them questions about what they're learning in each of their classes, have them to re-explain what they learned in class. And much of that reflection can take place around the dining room table, during times in the evening before sitting down and watching TV. Just have those conversations, take an interest in what your child is doing at school, and having them explain what they're doing is a great reflective exercise for students to move through. And at the same time, check to make sure that they're completing their assignments. You can ask them to log on to their Google Classroom, have them show you what assignments that they have assigned, ask them to show what they've submitted, always encouraging them to be successful. The more encouragement that our students get from both at school and at home will certainly create a better network for students being successful. Building learning networks is being able to expand out to other students in their classes, setting up study times with others beyond school hours to work on homework together, to work on projects. Much of that is easily set up with technology now with Google Hangouts and Google Meet. and continue to encourage communication. That's from home to school. Any questions or concerns that you have, please feel free to reach out to any staff member here in the district in regard to your child's performance. And if there's any ways that you can further support their learning, is to everyone's advantage. And then also, all of our teachers across the board have certain office hours throughout the course of the school day when students are remote. So that's a huge component that many of our students are able to get a little bit of that extra one-on-one attention with their teacher to help them to be successful, to ask some clarifying questions that make the small pieces of the puzzle fit together, so they have those broader understandings of the content. And then also, while at home, it's important to take breaks, take time away from the screen, get some physical activity in to keep the blood moving and keep things going as far as from a physical standpoint. So staying active, eating healthy, doing all kinds of things to keep a healthy spirit is also something that we want to make sure our students are doing at home. And then just a final update on the final slide there is just up in regard to winter athletics. Our winter sports season is targeted to begin as scheduled this Friday, November the 20th. We have both basketball and wrestling in regard to spectators. Those events take place in our gymnasiums where we do have room to invite in parents. We will continue to invite in 2 parents for every participant. That includes our cheerleaders. We will live stream any event that comes out of our high school auditorium, or I'm sorry, out of the high school gymnasium, and we do that through NFHS, and the link is there. There is a small subscription fee for individuals who want to watch those games at home, but it is relatively minimal for a season's worth of coverage. And then also you can pick up games from across the United States as well. Swimming, unfortunately, the size of our natatorium does not allow for spectators to come in and watch students compete. That's just based on the sheer size of the space limitations there. Many school districts are experiencing the same issues with swimming. So we will not have spectators able to come in and watch student athletes perform. However, we are looking into streaming options for those at home to continue to stay active and follow along. As a conclusion, prior to handing it back over to Mr. Shriver, certainly as we have recognized in the area that COVID cases are on the rise over the past few weeks, we have noticed between our 3 boroughs that the spread continues to grow. It is, as I mentioned before, concerning to our health officials, and it's certainly concerning to myself and this board, who takes the COVID situation very serious. We will be examining our instructional model over the next few days to determine how we move forward. As we had mentioned before, our goal is to add in instructional days over time. However, with the spike in the cases here, there may be some things that we may need to reconsider over the next couple of weeks. And we will, again, continue to monitor the local conditions, and we will continue to share information out via e-blasts to our students and to our families as well. So, Mr. Shriver, thank you for the time. I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Kreider. Moving on to our committee reports. Parkway West. Director Apple, do you have any updates for us?
Yeah, thanks. I think as Dr. Kreider mentioned, same holds true with Parkway West. There, the Joint Operating Committee and the administration out there is keeping an eye on the way things are progressing in terms of the COVID-19 pandemic, but also with the added difficulty of 12 member districts, 12 districts that send students there, and a total of 19 school districts that actually send kids. We get some students from outside of the jointer. So, it's a real challenge, but the commitment is to do the in-person learning as long as it's possible. But, again, keeping an eye on that. I would say, though, that with the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, I'll give a little plug to the culinary arts program. If you go on the website, and it's parkwaywest.org, you will see a place where you can order to-go meals. They feed 4 to 6 people for $35, and I can tell you that that's 4 to 6 super hungry people. So you could probably get easily, maybe even a Shriver-sized family out of that. And I mean, look, I take my kids and my wife for ice cream, and we spend more than $35. So it's a pretty good deal, and the food is excellent, and that that supports the program. But also, with the fact that we've got these restrictions in place with COVID-19, they don't have the dining area open as they used to, which was a very popular option for people to come in and have lunch, as well as the food store. So this is kind of a way to maybe not waste as much food, but also get a little revenue in for the benefit of the program. So that's about all I have right now. So thanks.
Thank you. And so the takeaway there is sign up for the Thanksgiving to-go meals.
Absolutely. Turkey and all the trimmings they have coming up for Thanksgiving. So, put it in a different plate and tell people that you made it.
Excellent. Good idea. Thank you. Director Hanshar, any updates for us on Pathfinder?
Yes, Jim, thank you. Our last Pathfinder meeting was Wednesday, October 21st. We had attendance of 82 kids. 2/3 of them were in the building from the beginning of the school year through October. And then we had to shut down on October 27th until November 7th because of COVID. But the kids are back in the building, and we did have to shut down. We had 3 confirmed cases over the weekend, so 3 of our 12 classrooms were closed as of this week. So COVID continues to be a problem, but most of our kids are in the building, thank goodness. That's the end of my report.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to Shasta, Director Zaletsky, any update for us on Shasta? I think last time you mentioned that there probably wasn't going to be a meeting, but
as of this time, the only thing that they still have scheduled is the student forum in March. So we'll see what happens with that.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Legislative PSBA, Director Simzik, any updates for us there?
Yes, I do. I had the opportunity to have a telephone call with Jim Somerville and Lena Hanna from PSBA. Found out that Jim's role is kind of a generalist as far as PSBA is concerned. So he can direct you where to go depending upon what your question is. And then Lena's specialty is legislative. So I did find out the distinction between their roles there. I had a good conversation with them. They talked a lot about all the resources that are available to us as PSBA members. A couple of things that struck me was they talked a little bit about the Success Starts Here articles that they will publish on their website. And they said that's really helpful to them if they get articles or things going on within the district that are success stories that they can share out with our representatives. It helps them make their case for what the district's needs are, what the school's needs are. So they encouraged if we have the opportunity or the desire to, please share our success stories. They would like to share those as well. Another thing they brought up that I hadn't thought of or considered is a board self-assessment. I don't know if we had the opportunity to do a self-assessment, but it sounded like an interesting tool to me, considering changes that we've had in our board over the years, the different dynamics, different people. It might be good for us to review where we are and what we'd like to do. They also just this conversation with them inspired me, and then also from the email from Dr. Kreider about the accredited school director leader designation, and I've decided I'd like to pursue that. So I'm looking into that. I have a couple of the items that you need to get that accreditation, but I am going to take some of the classes, and if anybody else cares to join me or anything like that. It seems like a really good way to learn about the many different facets that, come into play when you serve on the board. So also I have been, as I'm able, as my schedule allows me to, they have 2 calls a week. On Tuesdays, they're called a weekly buzz. So on Tuesdays, the topics are usually just something general. I think the last time it was about IDEA or, a different topic, special ed, I think it was. Fridays, they reserve for governmental affairs. So I've been more to the Friday ones than the Tuesday ones. They happen at 12:30 in the afternoon. So it just depends on, during my lunchtime if I'm able to do that. But I am learning a lot from that. It's really nice to interact with some of the other districts, hear what their concerns are, try to see which way PSBA is leaning. So I do have some things to report from that. First of all, PSBA is, they have their new platform up for 2021. Not a lot of changes. I mean, it's still the general topics, but I would like to let you know what they are. So they're still hoping to enact meaningful charter school reforms, which we've been trying to work on for a long, long time. Provide a significant continued financial investment for school districts, address Pennsylvania's pension funding crisis, and provide for the safety and mental health needs of students. So in general, this is kind of the same platform that it's been for a long time. A change this year, though, is they're seeking mandate relief. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about what they're saying that implies. So it says school districts are required to implement certain state mandates relating to the delivery of instruction, curriculum safety and security operations and fiscal management without the projected costs for implementation or a Pennsylvania line item budget allocation to offset the cost of implementing a mandate. School boards call on the state to recognize, support, and adequately fund state mandates by requiring the independent fiscal office to include the approximate cost for implementation of a mandate with a related line item in the education budget to help defray the cost of implementation. So I thought that was interesting. It's something for us to keep our eye on. They do think they're going to send an email blast out to school directors to try to get some support for that. So please watch for that. Also, we all know there's been some changes in government lately, so they're thinking and anticipating that we might see some increase in funding for IDEA at the federal level, which is very exciting. So they said IDEA, they expect it to be funded with a slight increase. They're beginning in discussions toward full funding for next year. So we'll see how that goes. So IDEA is to be reauthorized for next year, the 2021 or 2021-22 year. They're going to try to ask for full funding, so we need to keep up the pressure on this. Also, an interesting thing, Pedro Rivera has been named to the Biden transition team. So he was our Pennsylvania school director. So I think that's about it. That was a lot, huh? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I'll add that Mr. Rivera was here in our building and was very complimentary toward our programs at
Right,
Carlynton. So
right.
it's a great
So that's
addition.
exciting.
Very. On the foundation, I believe last time you reported there hasn't been any activity. Is that still the case?
That is still the case. We were supposed to meet last week and we didn't have the ability to get together. So I think we're not scheduled meeting until December.
Okay, great.
So, thank you.
Any last questions from any board member on committee reports? If not, we'll move on to section 4, finance. There's 2 items. I'll entertain a motion to approve number 1, the treasurer's report for the month of October 2020 is submitted. And number 2, to approve the bills for the month of October 2020 in the amount of $1,185,042.19. I'm sorry, there are more. Number 3, T-Mobile, to ratify the contract between the district and T-Mobile Project 10 million for the purchase of wireless mobile services as submitted. Number 4, to approve the resolution between the district and the Allegheny Intermediate Unit authorizing participation in the AIU's joint purchasing program. Christopher Juswick as the primary representative and Dr. John Kreider as a secondary representative as submitted. Number 5, to approve the agreement between the district and the AIU for implementation of Individuals with Disabilities Act, Section 619, for the period of July 1, 2020 through June 30, 2021, as submitted. Number 6, to approve the agreement between the district and Global Wordsmiths for language interpretation and translation services, as submitted. Number 7, to approve the athletic fund report for the month of October 2020 with an ending balance of $6,420.48. And lastly, number 8, to approve the activities fund report for the month of October 2020 with an ending balance of $91,115.14. Do I have a motion for those 8 items?
So moved.
Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and second. Thank you. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Under section 5 personnel, we have 6 items up for motion. I'll entertain a motion to approve. Number 1, the additions to the 2020-2021 athletic supplemental list with new and returning sponsors as submitted. The stipend for supplemental position holders is contingent upon completion of the full school year and will be prorated in the event of a shortened or canceled season due to unforeseen circumstances. Number 2, to approve the 2020-2021 curriculum supplemental list with returning department heads as submitted for the second semester of the 2020-2021 school year. The stipend for supplemental position holders is contingent upon completion of the full school year and will be prorated in the event of a shortened or canceled school year due to unforeseen circumstances. Number 3, to approve Ashley Schaefer to the Class 3 position of nurse's aide, effective November 18th, 2020, and consistent with the terms of the SCA collective bargaining unit agreement. Number 4, to accept the letter of retirement from cafeteria worker Carol Nightingale, retroactive to October 23rd, 2020, and consistent with the terms of the SCA collective bargaining unit agreement. Number 5, to approve the appointment of Kathleen Watson to the position of security receptionist at the junior senior high school, retroactive to November 5th, 2020, and consistent with the terms of the SCA collective bargaining unit agreement. And number 6, to approve and appoint Kristen Butler as Human Resources Coordinator at an annual salary of $52,500, subject to the execution of a formal confidential contract of employment satisfactory to the school solicitor. Do I have a motion for those 6 items?
So moved.
Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? If not, we'll vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed,
I
nay.
abstain. I abstain from 5.3.
Aye.
Thank you. And the nature of your abstention?
Conflict of interest.
Very good. Thank you. So Tony, we can get forms, and Michelle, we can get some forms afterward. And there was somebody else that either abstained or objected?
No.
Nope, that was it. All right. So to confirm, everyone said aye. Any nays on that vote? If not, then motion passes. Thank you, with 1 abstention noted. And Dr. Craig, you want to quickly?
Yes, Mr. Shriver, thank you. We do have Kristen Butler here with us this evening. Kristen joins us. She has an experience in human resources. She attended the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. Her experience in human resources and coming in as a human resources coordinator will be a great asset to the school district. So we welcome her, and we welcome her to the podium to make a brief statement if she desires.
Do I need to turn anything on? Okay. I'll just introduce myself. I'm Kristen Butler. Like you said, I've worked in human resources for about 4 years now in a school setting with private schools and a charter school. Before that, I attended the University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown. I'm super excited to join this community and take on this opportunity. So thank you so much.
Glad to have you.
Thank you, Kristen. Once again, welcome.
Moving on then, Under section 6, old business, does any director have any old business they would like to bring up tonight? If not, moving on to section 7, new business. Anybody have any new business they would like to discuss? I'd like to suggest we think about committees for next year. I sent an email out. Director Apple and I talked about this yesterday. Most of you have opted to continue to serve in your roles for next year. We appreciate that. There are a couple of openings. There's an opening for an alternate for SHASDA, an alternate for Pathfinder. And then Director Simsek has been doing double duty for several months now, so she's willing to have someone else step in and take the role for the foundation. So any director have any interest in raising their hand for 2021 committee openings?
I'll be happy to be alternative for Shazda.
Excellent. Thank you, Director Mendoza. Appreciate it. Anyone interested or able to be an alternate for Pathfinder? Anyone interested in being the foundation representative? Ms. Pushkar as a new member.
I can keep, if I can keep doing those, if nobody, I mean, it's fine. But
Okay.
if somebody else decides during the course of the year that they want to step in, that's fine too.
Understood. We'll keep that intact for now. And if those of you who didn't sign up tonight change your mind or express interest, we'd love to hear about it in the future. So thank you.
Jim, I didn't hear well. Did Susie say that she would be Pathfinder alternate for me? I hope so. Maybe I did. The audio was very poor.
I am happy to be the Pathfinder alternate.
Wonderful.
Oh, great. Thanks,
Thank you very
Susie.
much.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Any other director have any new business they would like to bring up? If not, we'll move to open forum. Does anyone in the audience, online or in person, have any open forum questions?
Just as a reminder to anyone joining us online, if you'd like to speak to the board, just go ahead and press the raising hand feature of your Chrome toolbar or your Zoom toolbar, and we'll acknowledge you. I don't see any hands raised at this time, but there is a question in the Q&A, if you'd like me to read that. It's from Rebecca Schaefer, and she says, with the cases going up and not getting better, and the state is asking for people not to even have a small group for holidays, my question is, why is the school still staying open instead of going back to remote? I don't quite understand. And people are testing positive, and you guys are keeping the school open. The second part of that question is, why did we only hear about one case in Carnegie? And today is the first we are hearing about the second. And the third part to the question is, also, I understand about the fact parents making sure kids have all supplies, but they should also be the other way as well to make sure that the teachers are giving all paperwork for remote learning children at home, not just in school kids, because that is not what has been happening, not saying all the teachers, but some.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. In regard to the first question, with the cases in the area, that's one thing that we mentioned earlier. The cases certainly are on the rise in Allegheny County. It is something that we are certainly aware of as a school, and then also as a board of directors as well. We monitor those conditions very closely. One of the things that we have heard from Allegheny County Health Department and also from the state of Pennsylvania is that mitigation efforts in the community are being amped up more recently here due to some community spread. But what we have heard from the schoolhouse and looking at other schools in the area in Allegheny County is that there is very low transmission in the school itself. In many cases, schools are more of a safer place to be than being out in the community. And I believe the efforts at the state level are in regard to enforcing policies with individuals wearing masks in the home when they visit others, when they visit restaurants. I believe there's also with travel. Those are all things that we have taken into and put and incorporated into our plan with quarantining individuals who travel into hotspots. We have asked parents to quarantine, and we've been very happy with the cooperation that we've received on parent self-reporting. Certainly that's something that is very difficult for us to monitor. However, we appreciate family self-quarantining in those events. We have a very strict policy in all of our school buildings with wearing masks, with keeping things sanitary, controlling the social distance in congregate settings, which something it is very hard to achieve in the general public in different spaces. So the reason that we're able to continue to offer face-to-face instruction is just based on our mitigation efforts and the cooperation that we've got from our community and the cooperation we've got from our students and from our staff. Whoever they're able to create that safe environment in the schoolhouse. But certainly it is something that we will continue to monitor. In regard to the cases, I believe that you shared some information about not being made aware of some of the prior cases. Some of those cases did occur prior to inviting students back into school. So I believe the ones you're referring to possibly would have occurred before students were actually in the school. We have had only one case where we've had an infected person in the building when school was in session. And the other cases where we've had positive cases, those individuals were not present in the building when students were in the building. And that applies also for our students. And I attribute that also to the quick reporting of our staff and to our families. Our families have reported things very quickly to us. And also based on our instructional model at grades 4 through 12, where we're seeing more cases at the 4 through 12 level than we are at the K through 3. The advantage we have there is offering instruction twice a week, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays, gives us time to react to those cases. And if a case hits positive on the weekend, we're able to step in and then quarantine that individual so that they don't get exposure to other students in the classroom by the following Tuesday. So I think that has certainly been the strength of our model and the strength of our community to keep things reported. And then in regard to supplies, we will take your comment into consideration, but certainly the biggest component is we want to make sure that students do have the proper tools to be successful at home. And if those are things that you don't have at home, we ask that you reach out and get a hold of us, and certainly be more than willing to help out.
Mr. Jones, do we have any other online open forum questions?
Yes, it looks like we have an Aaron Manifold. You are now permitted to speak. You'll just have to unmute your microphone.
Hi, thank you. And this kind of follows up with Mrs. Schaefers' question as well. And first, thanks for, offering the transparency on the dashboard on the website. So by creating that, clearly you are anticipating more cases. And I just wanted to know if you guys had come to any conclusion as far as like a tipping point for, when you would move into that remote setting. You mentioned that you guys were going to be talking over the next few days about the instructional model. I mean, are you thinking about shifting to remote if these cases continue? I'm just curious, what the thought process is behind, when you make that call.
Yes, once again, that's a good question. You always ask good questions, and I appreciate that. It's, as you know, it's a very complex situation in regard to COVID with the spread of the virus, both in the community and both in the schools. As far as metrics that we have in place from the very beginning with our safety plan, we have always indicated to our families that family members should be prepared for short notice, that if the district makes a decision to move back into a remote environment, that we're prepared to do so. So that is something, yes, we're always prepared to move back into remote. The other component that we've been consistent with as well is trying to give our families as much advance notice as possible if we do make that decision. However, there may be times where it is very short notice and we can't necessarily control that. But as far as the other metrics that are in place, I think it's more of a variety. And a lot of it has to do with us taking a look at our local data. As I mentioned before, every day I log on to the Allegheny County website. I track the number of positive cases in each of our 3 boroughs. I track the number of individuals who are getting tested, and then go through and make calculations on our positivity rate, and also other metrics to involve there, just to give us an idea of what it looks like in the community. But as it moves into the schoolhouse, then some of the things that we take a look at are the number of active cases, how those active cases are related to one another. As I mentioned before, it's very possible that you will see a spike on the information that we share, and you may see 4 new cases pop up on one day in the same building, and that may appear to be alarming. However, in some of those cases, it may turn out where those 4 cases are from the same household, or it may turn out where it was from a sleepover. And that is information that we glean as we talk to individual parents and families, and also information that we are able to recover from the Allegheny County Health Department. So we haven't come up with a specific number to base our decision off of, because I think we would put ourselves into an unfortunate situation where we could get a large spike, but it's not having a direct impact on the school and the safety of our students or our staff. The other piece that we certainly take into consideration is the health of our staff. Our staff is extremely important to move forward and provide instruction to our students. So that is something that we monitor very closely at our building levels, through our building principals, through communications with our staff as well, to make sure that they're taking precautions and that they're staying healthy as well. The challenge a lot of school districts are running into simply are with coverage issues and the number of substitutes that are available. So if we come to a point where we cannot staff our buildings with teachers, that will also be an issue that we'll have to take into consideration there. But as with many things, it's a collection of data points, and how those data points start to fall and create a picture for us is how we'll move forward and make decisions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I did end up pulling my daughter back into the remote environment, and it's just really hard that, she was able to go in person and now she's back in. So I know, Ms. Feckety provides an awesome remote learning environment, and I'm glad that you're, looking at staffing and coverages. I know she was covering music class today, and I'm wondering if that woman ever gets a prep, because she's always covering something, it seems. So I hope that you are taking care of your teachers, because we are working very hard.
And that's part of the strength, and it's a family decision on whether you feel comfortable to send your child to school, and that's where we think that our model is set up to handle large number of students staying at home, large number of students reporting to school, based on the conditions, and working with our staff and having them go through and get coverages can be taxing on them as well, and that can have impacts on stressful situations for them in their professional life, and also then in their personal life as it goes home. So that is something that we monitor, the number of coverages, and they can become significant from a day-to-day basis. With the model that we have in place at the 4 through 12 level, it's 2 days a week, which does provide a little bit of relief in between on the Monday, Wednesday, Friday for them, which is another aspect that we took into consideration when we moved to this model as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, do we have any other open forum questions?
No, we do not.
Okay. Board, any last minute open forum questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.